Welcome to the virtual Regal behind the scenes tour. My name is Sarah and I'll be your tour guide for this short video look at the Heritage Lottery funded Regal restoration project. Today I'll be showing you the foyer and the auditorium, two of the areas where much of the construction and restoration work has happened so far. This virtual tour contains video footage shot at the behind the scenes tour weekend, as well as photographs from earlier in the restoration. The foyer, or crush hall as it was known in the 1930s, was the first part of the cinema that any visitors would see. The subtle Art Deco styling is evident throughout the space, from the curved glass on the paybox and the wooden lettering on the toilet doors to the characteristic striping through the period artex on the walls. The most obvious change in the foyer to people who know the Regal already will be the movement of the steps at the front of the cinema. As you can see, the stairs have been pushed backwards into one full flight, allowing for the creation of a disabled access lift in the space to the right. Archways have been opened up into the two shop units either side. The flooring in the foyer area is terrazzo, a method of creating designer flooring popular in the 1930s and equally so today. Terrazzo is a mixture of rock chips in a cement-like matrix. The sections of the floor are marked out and then the mixture is poured into them. Once it is set, the top surface is ground down to reveal the rock chips, then polished with a special sealant that keeps it looking glossy. The steps have been relaid in concrete, as was done in the 1930s, and will be recovered with terrazzo, including the checkerboard edging. In the main foyer area, the Art Deco decorative scheme is being restored. Original paint colours were found under the newer coats of paint on the period artex, which has allowed us to choose colours that would have been in the cinema in its early history. The textured artex walls, with their many designs, were original to the cinema in 1937, and will remain in the foyer and throughout the cinema when we reopen. Original period features, such as the paybox, will be given a new coat of paint, but otherwise remain unchanged. The other functional change in the foyer relates to the toilets. The men's and ladies' toilets are swapping over to make room for a disabled toilet to be included. The Art Deco lettering that you can see on the doors will be restored, and a new matching sign created for the disabled toilet. The pencil marks on the ceiling show the space where a new bespoke Art Deco light fitting will go. The round light fitting, which was in the foyer before the restoration, was a 1980s addition, and the earlier square fitting it replaced wasn't the original light either. Art Deco decorative schemes often had grand lights which were a feature in themselves, so we'll be recreating one here. The design has been influenced by the 8-pointed star which was in the original linoleum in the auditorium, where it still is today, though covered by the stage. Faint marks on the ceiling, where the pencil marks are now, suggest something similarly star-shaped hung there in years gone by, and as we've no photographs for reference, we're creating a likely design using knowledge of other similar designs of the time, and these two stars as inspiration. The Regal's auditorium was purpose-built in 1937 for the new cinema. It contained 316 seats and was noted to boast an unusually good amount of legroom. The decorative highlight of the room was the extensive mural scene painted by George Legg, a mural artist working for a company called Bryant's Adamanta, based in Birmingham. The murals are painted in an atmospheric style, which means that they evoke the atmosphere of a setting, in this case the Italian lakes of the Mediterranean. For the restoration process to take place, scaffolding needed to be erected. To do that, the side seats on both sides were removed and stored elsewhere, and the centre section was covered with black plastic. Other features, such as the screen at the back of the auditorium and the balcony edge, were boxed in to protect them from the work going on around them. The scaffolding is in 3 levels, which allows full access to the walls and ceiling of the auditorium. The major feature of the auditorium is the mural painting on the walls. They were originally painted in 1937, but water damage, nicotine staining and years of dirt and dust have led to sections of the mural being overpainted in places in an attempt to clean and repair them. These overpainted areas are unsurprisingly focused around the lower part of the mural, which would have been more easily in reach for amateur painters without the benefit of industrial scaffolding. Other areas remain mostly untouched since their original painting. The murals are being restored as part of the project by mural artist Richard Gill. He has 3 main tasks. Firstly, he is restoring the areas which have been overpainted and bringing them back to the same style and standard as the original. Secondly, he is repainting the sections which have been lost to water damage. Water leaking through the old roof, now replaced, had caused the plasterwork to bubble up and fall off in chunks. These areas have been replastered, and Richard is painting them back in. This section, in the centre of the shot to the left of the plaster, has been painted by Richard within the last couple of weeks. The murals originally ran all of the way up to the proscenium archway, across the section which is now painted out in white. Richard's final task will be to reconstruct the murals in that section. There are no pictures of these areas as far as we know, so he will be doing it entirely based on people's memories. If you have any memories of these areas of the mural, please let us know. The more memories we have, the more accurate our reconstruction can be. The proscenium archway, which frames the stage as it would have done the original cinema screen, is also being restored. Chips and holes are being repaired, and the arch will be repainted into its original gold. The grilles you can see along the auditorium walls will also be gold. This we know to be the original colour, as the original paintwork still remains inside some of the grilles. Those archways used to have coloured lights shining up behind them, and they will be returning once more. The strip lights fitted in the 1970s have been removed, and the cylindrical light fittings of the 1930s lighting scheme are being reinstated along the walls. Improved lamps in the ceiling fittings will ensure that the lighting level in the auditorium remains at a usable level. Other original features, such as the ushers' seats at the rear of the auditorium, will be kept, and some modifications will be made to the modern audience seating at the rear of the auditorium to create seating for wheelchair users. If you're interested in the project, you can follow the progress of the restoration on our project blog, the address of which is on screen now. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, and you can join in the conversation there. That concludes this virtual tour of the Regal. I hope you've enjoyed your trip behind the scenes. Thanks for taking the time to look around.